Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Week 3 presentation of the Link to the Past Randomizer Open League Season 4. And today we're giving you a pretty good matchup between Pallet Runaways and Zeppelin. Pallet Runaways 3 points, looking to get a win on this game here today. Zeppelin fresh off a sweep in Week 2, taking a couple good games for the Fat Keys mess that usually happens here. We've got smercjd featured on Pallet Runaway side, and Zeke Highwind will play for Zeppelin today. I'm Zeruvian on commentary. Joining me in the booth is Zen Arcane. Hello, Zen.
Hey, Ruvi, how are you?
We are doing good, and we are ready to go fast. Everyone strap in and get ready, because this week it's casual boots. You get to start in standard. You're going to rescue the Princess Zelda, but you'll start with some boots on your feet and a sword in your hands, the ability to check everything in the castle, and from there, who knows what these two runners will do. And this is one of those keep talking and everybody stops bonking sorts of seeds. So what do you expect to see here? Is there anything you'd like to see in Hyrule Castles and Arcane if you're doing any kind of standard start?
I like to see Hammer early. It's just one of those pieces of Dark World access that you like to have, because I'm not a big fan of Mitt's Dark World access personally.
Mitt's Dark World access literally says Hammer Hunt. As we see, get to the castle. Yes, run quickly to the castle, please. And you have a first check as a sword. That's usually not something you want to see this early on, especially if Lamp is to follow.
Yeah, that early extra sword and lamp, oh boy, that has Aga written all over it.
Luckily, it's a little too early to be pulling the trigger on Aghanim, especially since we're still in rain state. That's not something that we'll be seeing happen here. I wouldn't put it past Zeke being a glitch runner to some degree, but being that we are playing with no major glitches logic, I think he'll stay within his bounds here.
Well, we can at least hope.
Alrighty, got to pick on Zeke a little bit. Zeke is a good friend of mine and a decent runner, so watch out for him. smercjd, on the other hand, won the Fighter Sword bracket in this past summer's mentor tournament over at Go Mode Podcast, so don't sleep on him either. These two players have a lot of heart and a lot of skill, and they're going to show us what they've got today.
Yeah, they're both heading into the castle now and going for that first key guard.
You see, basically in sync here. Zeke's stream a little bit choppy in the get-go, but they're basically, we're talking about like a second, maybe frames apart at some points. Good clean movement through the castle. Master Sword does make getting through here a little bit nicer if you're not as confident with your poke and spin sort of strats here, like NMG players do.
Yeah, and we see a map in that first check, meaning the only things left in the dungeon are one key and a bunch of items.
And that one key is going to be somewhere within the next 3 checks, either here at the Boomerang, in Zelda Cell, or Vanilla in the Dark Cross. And of course, as some of us are aware, some of us may not be, in the standard escape sequence of Randomizer, whether or not you have a lamp, you're still going to see a light cone in Dark Cross to help you be able to see. That's a fire rod.
Speaking of fire, there's more fire.
And with a little magic on Zeke's side, if he wants, he can just go ahead and fire rod this ball in Jane Guard.
Yeah, to make it that much quicker, Smirk will have to do slashes or pots. Let's see what he opts for.
Smirk having a little bit of trouble with that sentry guard there. The key is in Zelda's Cell, so we know everything else that's left down here will be an item. Chat saying something that everyone needs to hear and recognize on this seed. This is like, they're both very good runners, yes. And this is casual boots. It's kind of Smirk's home territory. It's something Zeke plays on the side a lot when he's not glitching or playing, clowning around cross keys with, certain individuals. These are two of probably the nicer people you could meet in the open league. is what I would say. So it's hard to know who to root for. You got two players with a lot of heart on the screen. All right, a couple of Smirk's troubles, putting him a little behind in this escape sequence. Still going to have a nice sub-6, which sounds slow by NMG standards, but you know there's only so much time you can save here, and you check everything in rando.
Yeah, where you skip, everything but Zelda Cell for the lamp, I think it is in NMG.
I think so, because the game won't let you go down there without a lamp, and it gives you plenty of opportunities to pick one up.
Oh, there's the thing you don't want to see, that frame lag inducing shield.
And it doesn't matter how many shields you have, you're going to have a nice little Ancilla boost for the rest of the seed, which in some rooms is going to create a little bit of lag for our runners here.
Zeke going to be heading up on the bombable wall or bonkable wall here. 3 checks behind it. Let's see what he gets.
That's one of the things that make casual boots, quote unquote, better than standard is there's your lamp. Regardless of your prize packs in the Hyrule Castle, having the boots on your feet means you don't leave these 3 checks. All right, so we're going to see like a 518 exit from Zeke in this escape sequence, and Smirk will follow just a few seconds behind, and we get just more money out of the chest in Sanctuary. So let's see if there's any kind of divergence to be had here going to North Kakariko.
Smirk doing a map check for us. I didn't quite catch that. Did you see?
I saw the map change, and that's about it. It looks like our tracker has indicated we have 2 crystals and a pendant on Eastern in the Light World today. So we have 2 red crystals and a green pendant hiding out in the Dark World somewhere.
Looks like that tree pull and the crab are both hearts. Not what you ideally want to see early on. You'd rather have some bombs.
Oh, Smirk getting a bomb off the choo-choo. That's actually pretty good. Tells you what pack they're in, and you can probably farm a couple here if you really want between here and the forest. Zeke says, no thanks, I'm just going to keep going. Really inconsequential if you think about the boot start has other things that work out for us here. We have a bonkable rock right outside the Kakariko Fortune Teller that will always give you a bomb as well.
We'll see if either of them decide to farm a few bombs there or take their chances in CAC.
There's nothing more irritating than farming up bombs and then immediately getting like the 10 in Cackwell or Lion's Hut. There's a longer map check from Zeke. We got crystals confirmed on Desert and Hera and a blue pendant at Eastern. Smirk's going to take his chances on 1 bomb, and Zeke is going to check the guard prize pool. That's some money. It's pretty cool. So he'll remember that this bonk rock will contain a bomb. And will he take his chances on 1, or he wants to? I think he wants to here.
Choose a little bit safer of a bet, so I can't say I blame him.
Well, he gets 8, so that's pretty good. And meanwhile, Smirk just gets free bombs in Kakariko's first sphere of checks here with Blind Hut paying out. Not much else of note in there, though. Unless you like the red boomerang.
I mean, red boomerang allows for boomerang, so that could be very useful if they know how to do it.
Now Kakariko well could have some treasure. Let's see what we get out of here. More bombs. So Smirk's got to feel pretty good about not going to spend a little bit extra time farming for bombs. Oh my goodness. It's the city of bombs, everybody.
Smirk gonna give us a bottle vendor check here. And more bombs!
So we can now account for 12 bombs in checks on Kakariko. That's good news, I guess. And $300 dues. Pretty good to have, seeing as money is still a big question mark for what might be needed on this seed moving forward.
And even more money. Another 50 in the back of the tavern. That's getting close to that Zora money. Let's see. We'll see if Smirk decides that Zora is worthwhile.
One thing that you can do that the logic doesn't expect you to do in casual boots is go ahead and there's your glove. Okay. That does make Zora logical. Never mind. Well, the method of which players usually take to get to Zora is not expected by logic in casual boots. You can set up a water walk and just coast all the way and get waterfall out of the way as well. You see a blind play of the race game. And sitting on the race game for smercjd is 20 rupees. And he says he wants them because he's probably thinking about Zora here.
Double blind check. What are your thoughts on blind checking race game in casual boots, Ruby?
It really depends on how Kakariko as a whole feels, although with the boots you do shave a second or two off of that race game time. But if you just check it, if you check it and you see something there, then you're just like, why didn't I just blind play this? But if you check it and you see nothing there, you do save time regardless. One thing I might like to see, knowing that we have a lamp and we have a pendant Eastern, is if someone decides to go in that direction.
And there's an ice rod.
What's the meme that we say in this community? Does that mean that ice rod means that TR is confirmed pendant? Lol. Zeke is going to bypass the dam for now, it looks like. And you'll see a lot of runners decide to do this so that they can combo the dam with going over to Desert Nagina at any point that they feel is necessary. This, Zeke, please be careful with one heart on green mail. These guys will hurt. There's 50 bucks. There's your hammer. Now we just need a moon pearl, and I bet you that moon pearl's sitting in Eastern. I don't know. When I see pendant Eastern, I feel like I want to get it out of the way fast. Looks like Zeke wants to say no to Ice Rod Cave area. He's going to go direct west from Mini Moldorm and get his Ice Rod and have us a look at Agina.
And Smirk, meanwhile, is going to go to Ice Rod Cave for us, and we'll get our first look there, see if there's anything important.
And with 525 rupees, I wouldn't be surprised to see Smirk decide, well, that only makes it easier to decide. He's going to go ahead and set up his water walk here. I said go ahead and set up his water walk here. There we go. And we're going to see the waterfall and Zora. No way to get the Zora ledge item unless you save a water...
Oh, that's interesting.
That's spicy. So we know we're going to need book on this seed somewhere.
Just 5 buckaroos there on Hylia Island, Smirk showed us.
Probably the one thing you don't want to see is a pair of pieces of heart back here. That's a mirror locked by flippers. Oof. That gives us a lot to do on the mountain, and while that mirror is not in logic as of yet, there's still plenty of incentive to go up there and figure out what's going on at some point on this seed. Probably after you get your mitts, though. And here's
Zeke
that Eastern play, yeah. Oh, jeez,
wow.
really? So that hook shot, on the other hand, is very much in logic. And it might take Zeke a while to get back to that.
Oh, Zeke not heading towards Eastern, just getting Saha's closet.
This does look like Zeke is going to make the play to fake flipper up to Zora, which is actually really good because we know the hook shot and the hammer says Hera is in logic. Hera, of course, a crystal. The mirror being in a logic makes Hera even easier to get to.
And Zeke is now, or not Zeke, sorry, Smirk is escorting our favorite old man, Gary. Let's see what Gary has for us today. Hopefully something very nice. "10 arrows, thanks, Gary."
It's his favorite stick collection. He wants you to have it. Brought him good luck back in the Great Hylian Wars of 2021. Wait, that's this year. Right, so you're going to see Smirk go ahead and get these spectacle rock checks out of the way. The mirror, of course, as we stated, is out of logic. Powder. Oh, that's beautiful. If nothing else, that gives you another reason to go back to Kakariko at some point, seeing as we also picked up a bottle in the Waterfall Cave.
Smirk setting up for the bomb jump to get back across.
All right, Zeke's got to know it's mountain now, so he'll go up in that direction. Smirk deciding that he wants to go to Hera. The out of logic way. All right, our map check showing us that we have a pendant on Swamp today, a pendant also at Ice Palace. So that mirror might actually not be too important. I saw red crystals at Mire, and I didn't see the other one.
I think it was Thieves Town.
That sounds about right. So we know we're going to need to see a flute at some point on this seed, and we'll also need a book, both to access desert and to get the mitts off the desert ledge. And both rods, which having the ice rod this early is a pretty good feeling. Of course it is.
French Vanilla Merle.
Moon Pearl and Hera makes me laugh every time. And Smirk going to set up for a hook speed Hera pot. Neat little trick that lets you skip most of the climb of this dungeon, and he gets it with relative ease. It's not something you want to see in the big chest.
Oh, okay. There's our second item, so now we know the basement isn't required.
And that's good for Smirk as well, because he doesn't have any magic as of yet. He will after he, takes care of Moldorm.
Zeke heading into Heron now, and just about to find that Merle in the basement.
Ooh. Moldorm not playing around gives Smirk a bop as soon as he walks on up. So, he'll be climbing back up the stairs here to face off against this guy.
Zeke also setting up for the hook speed Harapot here. Gets it relatively quickly as well.
Question from chat, did Zeke ignore powder? He'll probably grab it on his way out at some point, is what I would guess, and then go over to EDM after that. Also opting to check the compass chest first, meaning he doesn't have to even think about what's in the big chest. He can just go straight to Moldorm. Now, Smirk doesn't know about the mitts on Desert Ledge, so he's going to go over here and check for a bunch of other stuff. And, we don't see anything on Floating Island. We do have 8 additional checks here on East Death Mountain, however, and they can absolutely give you plenty to think about.
Zeke dispatches Moldorm very, very handily with that Master Sword spins.
Saw 2 different Moldorm fights here. As Smirk opted for the hammer, they will both do Tempered Sword level damage. Hammer might be a little unwieldy unless you're used to that wonky hitbox. But spins are tough too if Moldorm's wiggling around. I'd say both runners handled that pretty well. And there's a bow, making you think immediately of Palace of Darkness.
And there's our flute on Smirk's side in Paradox Cave. And a Tempered Sword. Ooh.
So now imagine if we don't break the mirror, we have a Tempered Sword for Moldorm. Not that that's too big of a difference, but still. Just the knowledge of it is huge here. Tell you what else is huge here, that bow. Now that we know the flute is somewhere, now we're just looking for medallions, really, in the Keen of Samaria. And unless something's blocked by that set of flippers, the only other thing we need is book, and we're talking about go mode already.
They would need a book to be able to get up on the mitts on Desert Ledge, though.
Yeah, that's the only snag right now. That book could be pretty much anywhere. Except Desert, of course. Desert and behind mitts are the only places it can't be. So Smirk is going to do the better part of checking these couple little things here in Kakariko. Never mind on the cane. So at this point, do you even want to see the flippers?
No?
I mean, what are flippers going to block for us? Book or a medallion? I mean, just, wow, this seat is blazing. So if Zeke never goes back for that powder, he's okay, because the powder's not leading to much. However, it is still a pretty good safety, and we are sitting on 5 hearts green mail as of yet. That could change in a relative quick fashion here.
Let's see where Smirk opts to go with this flute.
I would imagine he wants to check out Hype Cave, or, the cave formerly known as Hype, if you prefer. Zeke is going to go ahead and head on back this way, pick up his powder before he leaves the mountain, it looks like. Beautiful. And a bottle in logic as well for the Cane of Samaria. So now what? We have full access to Swamp Palace already. Smirk says no thanks. I'd imagine he's going to take the west route here and see what happens.
That now in Logic Mirror is making this routing that much more efficient, being able to check everything all at once instead of having to come back.
Smirk wants that little extra bit of cash, seeing as we may still need to open... Well, we do need to open up Palace of Darkness, and there's no guarantee that the dig game is going to pay out.
Looks like Zeke's about to get his cane here, while Smirk goes and talks to the biggest scam besides the scam fish, the dig game.
This one not so much a scam in money as it is really just time. Wow, vanilla, who would have guessed? You have to imagine he keeps going to recuperate just a little bit of cash here before he saves and quits. No, he said, no thanks, I'm just going to leave. All right, here comes that fully logical Palace of Darkness play. And Pod being a crystal, probably something runners will prioritize in this situation more often than not.
It looks like Zeke is going to be heading to Vu instead.
I like this in a way, because if he gets a book between Skullwoods, Vu, and Thievestown, he can just flute off, grab his mitts, and call it good. Come back and do a Smith chain. You know, get all these checks out of the way. This thing we got going on here, though, is a 5-heart green mail attempt at Moth if he decides to go into Skullwoods, and that looks like what he wants to do.
Zeke does have the safety of that blue potion from Waterfall Fairy, though, so refill the magic, refill the hearts, spam some fire rod. It should be okay, I would think.
It looks like while we're troubleshooting the audio being ahead here, we are going to have Zeke missing for a couple moments. But one can only assume he's going to show Skullwoods what for. And Palace of Darkness is not bow locked today, unless there's not another key available in the next couple checks. Okay. So a bow can absolutely be here if we really want it to be. I don't think we do, though. Smirk taking the route that's not going to leave a single check behind in case you end up going to the back and finding out your big key's in front. Kind of a feels bad moment when that happens.
Smirk just getting clipped there by the spikes. Comes up and finds the big key.
And since this last check has to be a key, I would imagine we're going straight to Helma. No? Okay. I mean, the trendy play here is to go to Helma when you have an extra key and the big key, but Smirk might have other plans about the rest of the dungeon first. And we have picked up Zeke again, and he appears to be headed straight to Mothula. Not yet seen whether he's picked anything up in Skullwoods here. Moth playing fairly nicely for those first few swings.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Zeke had some sword beams, so they weren't doing quite as much damage as he would have liked, but he still takes him down really quickly.
And Zeke will be the first to the second crystal of our match here today, taking out Skullwoods with... Again, this is a low percent situation. Even with the safety, that's scary as heck on Green Mail, because the Moth's attacks will do 2 hearts of damage, and every spike will do 1. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room there if something goes way off the rails.
Only a compass in the big chest over there on the Smirk side.
Yeah, so Smirk could have benefited from running to Helma, and if you count your items, you can dodge the compass entirely. There's a Kina Burna in Skullwoods, and Zeke mirroring out. I would imagine that means that's the second item. That also puts into logic one check that I would really not like to think about today.
Well, that was a nice fairy refill there for Zeke. He was getting a bit low. Everything was kind of bullying him a bit.
We're going to see the Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb checks from Zeke. These are a little bit out of the way, but with the mirror and logic... Well, Zeke doesn't know the mirrors and logic yet. He hasn't been to Hype Cave. I like that nifty little bonk to just ignore the hedge barrier there.
It just makes it slightly cleaner so you don't have to worry about it, I think.
Well, these 2 checks unfortunately did not yield anything for Zeke, so he will probably descend into Village of Outcasts here. And Smirk going to have to be real careful. He's going to chug his blue potion. But he's only a couple spins or a couple swings away, and Helmasaur goes down.
And Smirk picking up his second crystal there. Finishing off Helma, and see where he heads next.
Zeke gets a free health refill from C-Shape House. Having already used that blue potion, that might be nice against blind. Then again, so might that Kina Burna. And Zeke wants him a taste of Thieves Town. Let's see it. You have to wonder what Smirk might do here, having already cleaned up Palace of Darkness and deciding not to go Independent Eastern. which I think is something you might want to do when you're in that area, but being able to flute to 5 makes Pendant Eastern pretty easy to get back to anyway. Front of Thieves Town having basically nothing. Well, there's a piece of heart. That's always good. And this is something that works out in Smirk's favor a little bit too, is he is sitting on 7 hearts where Zeke only had 5. So he's going to have a little bit more leeway on the Skullwoods play. Although Zeke handling it with, again, relative ease. Is these two runners are showing their stuff for sure. Something you want to look forward to the rest of the week is if you see players doing some stuff for low percent material, you might be paying attention to what goes on next week here in the league. But more on that later.
Looks like Smirk is going to go front to back in Skullwoods here. It seems more common nowadays if you have, especially if you have Cane and Fire Rod, to go straight to the back. But just doing, gets his first item, doing his due diligence here.
That's going to work out because I would imagine Zeke did the same thing then, based on how he went in and left on the Key of Burna. So, with the way the keys lay out in this dungeon, yeah, it's pretty nice.
Oh,
Finally,
there's a
some
much needed
protection.
safety.
Yeah, that blue mail is going to cut our damage in half from anything that's not a fixed damage source. Smirk getting wall mastered in this first room of Skullwoods. The Skullwoods middle, I should say. No small key yet, but I wouldn't write it off as being in this Maiden's chest so soon, because it's not. So pretty nice Thieves Town, get to go right to the boss here.
Smirk making quick work of that Gibdo room where you have to light the torches and working his way up to Moth now.
And everybody, it's time for Blind's Pun of the Day. Tie 2 ropes together? I think not. Ooh, Swordbeam's throwing Zeke a little off there in phase 2 of the blind fight.
Very nice recovery. Had that cane on just for that extra safety in case he needed it, but he didn't.
And Thieves Town similarly not being the answer here for our runners.
Moth not playing quite as nice for Smirk, but being very, very patient, taking his time, and takes Moth down.
So Zeke can loop this all the way down and leave his way through Hype Cave and then go straight to Pod if he so wants. Let's see what the last check in Village of Outcasts has for us. I don't know. I'm feeling either Eastern or Swamp here. Swamp has just been telegraphed this entire seed.
Here's your hook shot, here's your flippers, here's your hammer. Where do you want us to go, game?
You know, when the flippers lead to mirror and the flippers aren't required for the seed, you've got to go to Swamp, right? I think Zeke actually might make that call right after he does Hype Cave, too.
I mean, it's a good call in the sense that you're right there, and it's probably quicker then to do than having to flute back and do it. Whether he makes that call remains to be seen.
And Zeke has a message for everybody. Right, Smirk's gonna get his can of Burna. Now, the only thing I could think about that can of Burna is gonna tell us is he should probably be going to Spike Cave.
Smirk might make that call not knowing that mitts are on Desert Ledge, or might leave that thinking, do it when you get mitts, perhaps.
That's the one thing I'd be afraid of in Smirk's case, is he doesn't know where mitts are, so he might actually end up over-checking in some areas looking for them. Then again, mitts being blocked by the book, there's only so many places you can go until you obtain them.
Well, Zeke's just about to pick up these flippers here. Let's see what call he decides to make afterward.
Seeing a couple commands in chat. Do you want to invite everybody here to follow these two runners? Of course, smercjd plays with a group of friends himself. Lots of action, Pallet Town Runaways, all mentor tournament participants this last summer, and all to relative success. They all made brackets for respective skill levels, so that's not something to sneeze at. Zeke Highwind, on the other hand, HMG tournament taking out Dawn Venier in the first round, and he only just learned glitches a month before that, so that's saying something too. Don't sleep on him. He plays with his own group of friends, and modes all over the place is what I would say here. That's another thing. I don't think either runner has checked Hobo yet, because they both ran to Zora.
Yeah, they didn't have Merle at the time, so they wouldn't have been able to get their Waterwalk state out of Waterfall Fairy Cave, so it looks like Zeke's heading to Hobo.
Also get a shout-outs today to our tracker, Akahish, who's done some work here in League as well. We've seen a couple pretty solid wins on their corner. How about the book on Hobo? Oh boy. Oh boy. That's a lot of information right off the bat. And you bet Zeke is going straight for those mitts.
So if you're Zeke, Ruby, after you get these mitts, what's your first play? If you go on Desert and beat Desert, what's your first play after that?
I'm still thinking about Pod, because of course I am. Pod is right there. It's 5 checks and it's a crystal. But that book opens up Smith Chain. It opens up East Death Mountain on the dark side. It opens up the Mire area checkerboard. Ice Palace is now full clearable, even though we don't want to go in there either. It is the Green Pendant. There are a ton of things blocked by myths, which is why this isn't terrible for Smirk, but I can see that being a last location. Not to mention the book itself also gives you Ether and Bombos. Two very out-of-the-way checks that nobody ever wants to have to go do. Because with Palace of Darkness being empty as it was, if Zeke puts it off, he might as well just go ahead, find the big key, and rush Helma.
And that big key is right side, if I remember correctly, so it's basically go right and you win.
The thing that I'd be worried about is these medallions are definitely in hiding here, as they certainly seem to be. And chat pointing out something nobody wants to think about. Ice Palace is open, and it was the last pendant that we had in question. Pedestal is now in Logic. That means any of those 3 medallions could very well be on the bed. As for Zeke, we are listening to the soothing sounds of the Etrian Odyssey soundtrack MSU from that entire series, put together by somebody who's sitting here in chat. Big shout outs to that person. And we're going to go straight to Lanmo because we have determined that he has the second item of Desert.
Smirk, meanwhile, still making his way through Thieves' Town. Just bomb the ceiling, through the spikes, and heading down to Blind Cell.
So for a brief moment here, one of them is going to have a crystal lead. And I do say a brief moment. All right, I'll stop being cheeky. That person will be my opponent from yesterday, W. Garrison, is the man responsible for this MSU. So give him some mad props. Had some pretty friendly patterns from Landmolas, but that spin is going to cause a second cycle, and now we just got to spin to win. Bingo. Okay, I lied. It's just getting the crystal out of the way. That's perfectly fine.
Smirk, meanwhile, clearing up Blind over there, put on the cane for safety, and finishing Blind off. So, what do we have now? 4 crystals for Zeke, and 4 crystals for Smirk as well.
Yeah, Zeke having already done Desert, he's going to go ahead and peek into the Mire area to see what medallion we're looking for to enter Misery Mire. And is it sitting under the door? It's a nice vanilla ether for Misery Mire today. And it is indeed sitting under the door. Oh, that's got to feel good because that's your 5/6 in logic that says Pyramid Fairy now on the table. And if we have double ether, we're actually in go mode.
Looks like Smirk is heading to Swamp.
Hey, you see that green 20 sitting there in Checkerboard K? That happens to be the fancy footwear that we're wearing in this mode. The boots is replaced with a pair of rupees in the 10 spot instead. So Smirk is going to make this swamp play because he is looking for myths. And unless Smirk pulls out a medallion that we need for Turtle Rock, this actually could end up just being a little bit of time spent in this dungeon as opposed to time saved elsewhere. Zeke taking advantage of sword beams to clean up this Wizrobe's swarm and no problem at all. To answer a question in chat, the book was sitting on our friend under the bridge locked by Flippers. Flippers were in Hype Cave. Both runners did the water walk start, so that is actually a pretty out-of-the-way check for smercjd right now. And who else but Godmire? Oh, Zeke was thinking about it. Zeke was definitely thinking about it, but he wants to see what else is lying in here. The bug net and swamp else. You know, Zen, if I wanted to jump the shark, I would be just cleaning up this dungeon, going to pod, running to Helma, and then calling myself in go on Ether. Just because I have so many checks in East Death Mountain to do as well.
I would consider heading straight up to Turtle Rock to see if I do need another medallion.
Because as we know, if Jet Seed's gonna jet, Jet Seed's gonna jet. Zeke trying to set up for a rail clip here. A little bit of extended door state, and he got it.
And Smirk, meanwhile, doing the smercyd diver down on the left side of Swamp.
Time to see if left side Swamp has anything nice for us today. Well, that tells you where your other item might be. And Zeke is going to go straight to the cutscene check.
French vanilla big key there on Smirk's side, and a second shield.
All right, so this cutscene check has to have an item, because of course it does. And in the Swamp Big Chest for Smirk, we are going to see Half Magic. A pretty nice safety to have going forward here. Doesn't do anything for us in Logic, but that's going to make a couple things a little bit easier when you're relying on Fire Rod for firepower.
Just $50 there on Zeke's siding cutscene.
I think what Zeke's trying to do right now is he's erring on the side of caution. Having one medallion calling go mode is kind of scary. But clearing out Misery Mire for 2 items, I don't know if I do that either.
The question becomes, how quick do you come back to Mire to look for that second item, or do you last location it?
If you're me and you've done this twice, you leave that cutscene check, and both times it's your Ice Rod. And chat pointing out something important here is if TR is not Ether, and we don't find it on the way to TR or in the path of the rest of our crystals, Zeke may still make a play to go into Swamp. Especially with Pyramid Fairy on the table here, you might see Swamp in 256, as is commonly routed.
Nice kill on Smirk's side of Argus there for 10 sticks.
So Smirk will pick up the first pendant we have on the table here. Zeke is going to opt for some tempered cape dashes. I might have just went for spins if I had cape. It's just that much more damage to each eyeball. Ooh, RNG not playing nice.
Very nice swap with a bow, though.
This is good news for Smirk. He's going to see Mitts and go, well, I need to find the book. And he's not going to have a lot of locations left for where that book could be. So now the question is what Smirk decides to do in his search for the book. And for Zeke, how long do you wait before you go back to the mountain and see whether or not TR is your crystal? And that is what he's doing right now. If TR is Ether, Zeke is in go mode. Smirk is going to go back up the mountain. What? Oh, he's going for Spike Cave. We talked about this a little bit earlier after both runners pulled the Keen of Burna, but now that we have Keen of Burna, Cape, Half Magic, and all that fun stuff, Spike Cave could still be on the table here. Moment of truth for Zeke Highwind. Is this Ether to get into Turtle Rock? And at 55 minutes, 46 seconds into the seed, Zeke Highwind is our first runner in go mode. And now that Smirk is on the hunt for the book, he is going into Eastern, and it's not going to be sitting in there for him. That's rather unfortunate, because he has played a pretty stellar seed to this point. But that book on Hobo is a bad spot for casual boots. So I made a joking level about it earlier, and people in chat are pointing this out. This is a fairly unhealthy seed. You have Zeke sitting on 8 hearts blue mail. Smirk is on 7 hearts blue mail. These are the kind of numbers you might see next week when we do Pilot Spoiler here in the Link to the Past Randomizer League. So to see these runners execute in a low percent situation, that says quite a bit. Little speculation in chat. Did Smirk mismark the man under the bridge? I would imagine no. It's an out-of-the-way check at this point. What happened early on in the seed, both runners decided to go straight for... Oh, Zeke's going straight for right side. This is going to pay off big. Both runners decided to go straight for the water walk, and when you do that in casual boots, because we didn't have the Moon Pearl at that point, in order to maintain that you could check the waterfall, we had them completely bypass Hobo and go straight to Zora. Zora, of course, had nothing. The waterfall had a mirror and a bottle. So both runners went up the mountain and found their Moon Pearl in logic with the hookshot and hammer sitting in Hera's front basement. But, there's a big key for Zeke. He's going straight to Helma. Actually, this is actually a super straight-up strong routing call for Zeke to pick up the key and shooter and go, well, if the big key's on the right side, I can just go straight down. And if not, then you're just going, down this way and going to the back for the big key anyway. So now we got smercjd headed to the back of Eastern for whatever may be waiting on the Armos Knights. Zeke knows exactly what he wants to do here. He's going all the way to Helmasaur and nowhere else in Palace of Darkness.
That Igor there got just a little bit away from Smirk, trying for the one cycle on them.
Pretty sure I just saw Zeke set up spin speed to make this hammer a little nicer on Helmasaur. And by nicer, I mean meaner.
Oh, it's nicer for Zeke, it's meaner for Helma. So if you're Smirk, what are you thinking now that you haven't found your book?
That depends on where he flutes to. He's going to go check the mushroom he just got out of Eastern Palace, so I don't know. Yeah, on one hand, I have two pendants, and I'm thinking of Ice Palace because it's both the green pendant and my last pendant. On the other hand,
I can't even get into it.
That's true. I know where the myths are, and I don't know where my book is. So this could be... It could be Catfish. It could be Hobo. It could be the Pyramid. We don't... It's hard to say.
Zeke taking a tour through Super Bunny Cave here. Do you think he'll stop and pick up any of the items, or is he just going to go straight into Turtle Rocco?
I think you do still pick up whatever's in here. They're on your path, the critical path. As Smirk will pick up his book, and he is not as bad shape as we think he is. That little heart piece might add up to something big later, seeing as we're still sitting on blue 8. You might want to see a mail upgrade. You might want to see a heart container. At this point, while it's not entirely necessary, even the fourth sword wouldn't be bad to find here. What I'd be a little worried about is what do you think Smirk does with the myths?
At this point, it was mostly a last location for him, so I'd probably be feeling a little bit behind, probably try and play a little bit more aggressive, and probably go straight for Meyer. I want to get, my crystal done right away, and unbeknownst to him, it would put him in go mode.
Oh, that berry literally just edge guarded Zeke as the platform came to a rest.
Zeke took his revenge, though.
Being a little bit wise there to not aggro the skeleton. A couple really scary rooms coming up. This one, the Pokey, easily dispatched with Fire Rod. But this next one, with the Chain Chomps and their nonsense, this could be ugly. Luckily, they're playing a little bit nicer than they have for me the past few times I've been in here. Did he just walk through that hitbox?
I think so.
Yeah, frame roll. I Usually only see that with like a fireball from a Lionel or a Zazek, but that was neat. I want to see that again. Can we get a replay on that? All right, Smirk's going to pick up his mitts. Zeke has seen 2 keys in the front of TR. He only needs 1 key to skip Laser Bridge. Between here and Crystal Roller. And even if not, you can still pick up a key on Laser Bridge, no problem. We got Cape, Burna, Boots. Easy mode. And Zeke is making the play. If it's in Crystal Roller, he gets to bypass Laser Bridge. If not, then there's a key on Laser Bridge guaranteed, because you kind of need one. Unless the remaining 2 keys are right there in Lava Chest and in the big chest. And chances of that are like, what? 3%?
3%, I think.
All right, we're in the clear. Zeke gets to run straight to Trinex.
Smirk meanwhile dispatching Landmos. Oh, gets an unfortunate short hop Landmo there, so has to settle for a 3 cycle. Smirk picking up his 5th crystal now. Let's see where he decides to go now.
The only thing I could think is going to be in Smirk's mind is if he flutes anywhere but 6. I could go to Meyer, but I don't have a medallion. Well, lucky for you, my friend. The key is under the doormat. It's under the doormat in the check that you just blocked off, my friend. If you've ever missed a mirror block going through like the bottom of Paradox Cave or right here in Meyer Shed, and that'll be, he doesn't know it yet, but that's go mode for Smirk. And everybody, that is Zeke's 7th crystal. So if you'd like to leave a guess as to where you think the big key sits within the basement walls of Ganon's tower, which allows us to climb, feel free.
Do you have a favorite number for GT Big Keys, Ruby?
No, I go by a range. And I mean, I have a wide range. I'd like to say 9 today, but that's just me. And Zeke opting to check Hope Room first. We're going to see 2 of these checks. If there's a key here, does he go right? Oh, it's a moot point. There's no key. Oh, look, a key.
Smirk just about to find out that Meyer is God Meyer.
Zeke getting some well-loved HP upgrades out of the Stalfos room in GT, and he's going to go left. Ooh, that Stalfos didn't want to play nice. So Smirk doing exactly what Zeke did. He's going to poke around for the other items here in Misery Mire. There's the Quake Medallion sitting in the GT map chest. Don't need that today.
Oh, Zeke accidentally doing boomerang when you didn't want to. Boomerang, for those that don't know, if you throw your red boomerang and then try and hook shot, it extends the range of the red boomerang well off screen. You can use it in Mire to hit the switch just like Spooky.
So Smirk finding everything in Misery Mire before he heads to the boss. We're going to see the randomizer room. It's aptly named because you only ever really see players go to it while playing randomizer. There's your third shield, and it promptly gets a bomb. Honestly, that whole room was a bomb. Smirk now making his way through Misery Mire. Just to see if he does something different than Zeke did on Vitreous. We saw tempered keep dashes for that fight earlier. We do have some talent on display if we get to see something a little bit different.
Zeke dropping into the Ice Knights fight. Let's see how this goes.
Zeke's going to have to be a little bit wary of his arrow count here, because we will need some arrows to climb with. You need at least 4 to get through that first room. And he's going to stop at 9 and just sword beam the last Armos Knight. And here comes Smirk's Vitreous fight, everybody. He's going to do exactly the same thing.
And there's the big key on Zeke's side.
We also found 10 arrows back there in the vanilla big key room. And that's going to make this a done deal for Zeke. He gets to go straight into Gauntlet with plenty in the quiver. That is now Smirk's 6th crystal. He has but TR left, and if he goes to CTR as Ether, I would imagine we're going to see him just jump right in.
Zeke just making his way through both mimics there. Very, very easy room for him. And coming up onto the, I don't know what you want to call this room, spike room.
Well, seeing as Zeke just took one, I would call it the spike room. Zeke, no. Don't hug cannonballs. They're not warm and fluffy. Zeke is going to go ahead and visit this refill room here.
Smirk also going to be heading through Super Bunny Cave. Probably thinking I might as well check all these checks just in case I don't have the right medallion. Like we said, little does he know that he actually does.
Here's how you know Zeke's not fooling around with these Stalfos and Gauntlet too. He says, taste ether. Now, in part because Ether is the quickest of the 3 medallion animations, and in part because Ether will immediately kill Stalfos, and also in part because Ether happens to be the only medallion we have, except for Quake. And Quake just gets no love. Alright, Gauntlet down for Zeke. Let's see what he does on Lenmo 2. And Smirk will now see that he is in fact in go mode. He's going to go ahead and open up Turtle Rock.
Zeke dispatches Lammo 2 there with a sword, trying to conserve some magic for the upcoming rooms.
Also going to pick up that heart that's sitting there in the mini refill room before you hit Wizrobes 1 and 2. Trying to keep the HP up so you don't have to worry about something going horribly wrong in these next 2 rooms. And a well-executed Wizrobes 2. That looked clean. So Zeke's going to have to pick up this magic pot on the right side of this room unless he wants to do Lamp in the next Torches puzzle. I'd say he imagines no. Fire Rod is faster. Does he check up here for silvers? Well, there's the 4th GT key. Alright, Smirk is going through Turtle Rock. He probably likely also sees that it's a God TR. So unless he's looking for something to help him out in the endpoints of the seed, I would imagine he traces Zeke's footsteps here.
And Moldorm chest, only 10 arrows. Unfortunately, no silvers, so we're going to be seeing silverless Ganon here in a moment.
But first we have a math lesson from Aghanim the Wizard. Can you solve my geometry puzzle?
I can. I got kicked out of geometry class.
Some of these patterns are actually really nice. Some, until you get that blue ball there and what could have been a triple.
One more hit here, it looks like, and that's the wizard down.
Alright, let's set the table for you guys. We have Tempered Sword, we have Blue Mail, we got 10 hearts, and there's probably 1 or 2 potions in Zeke's pocket. He doesn't have half magic, though, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful with his magic consumption usage going through the early parts of Ganon. Huge shout out to these 2 players showing us all kinds of stuff here. Smirk decided to go check the big chest of TR. Interesting. He gets the last sword as a result. Again in phase 1, going all over the place. Now we're in phase 2, 12 more slashes to move him into the next.
Very nice hooks there to avoid those fire bats, saving himself some health.
Yeah, one of those looked really close. Yeah, kind of like that when he actually ended up clipping into the ring of fire bats as they come back through. Ooh, boy. Ooh, that was scary. as we see both of our runners heading towards the finish line. Once again, give a shout out to these two, both very strong players in their respective communities and their respective groups. And in this league, keep an eye out for more action from them as the league goes forward. Give those two a follow. Make sure you follow my co-coms and Arcane. He's also in this league as a member of the Last Location Heirs with Scottish Brave and Structural Mike. And also shout-outs to our restreamer today, Artyril, and our tracker, Akuhish, also a member of the Open League. I forget which team you are on, my friend. Feel free to join us and chat with that info. As Zeke is doing some triples on Ganon to finish this seed off. We did get that silver synth. They're somewhere in the dark overworld. Probably catfish, if I had to guess. Or, you know, they could be vanilla. They could be Hookshot Cave. And that'll do it. So, pending this 1x3 bridge cross by Zeke Highwind, let's get some GGs ready in your input lines, folks. And Pet Zeppelin will take their third win in a row today. Zeke finishing official on race time with a time of 1:20.49, first in this race. GG, Zeke. And well played by smercjd. Unfortunately, the book sitting at the hobo is what unravels this seed, with Mitz sitting on the desert ledge. So we're going to see another run from Pallet Town Runaways later this week. And another game also from Pet Zeppelin, who have now 9 points after this tilt, and tightening up that Ganon's Tower division here in the Open League. Zen, I didn't really get to ask you this. What do you think of that GT Big Key location?
Not a fan. Anytime you have to go to the Ice Knights is never a good time, in my opinion, in GT. What about you?
I don't like it, especially if you don't have silvers. And especially in this case, where all of your keys are left side. It's the one time you might see the route that goes from Stalfos all the way down right actually pay off. And you don't like it. It doesn't feel good because you leave all those checks in the middle of the left. But yeah, Smirk is going to just do his motions here and get all the way down to the Ice Knights in just a moment. Hopefully he remembers he needs to save some arrows as well.
Shield percent for Smirk.
Yeah, I mean, if you pick up one shield, you might as well have them all. But at the same time, you kind of don't want to end up with all 3 shields. It's like finishing a seed on 18 hearts, red mail shields, silvers, gold sword, full inventory. That's usually the sign of something gone wrong. Usually, not always. Sometimes things can just be in bad spots. He does have a full quiver of arrows coming into this fight, so as long as he doesn't miss, he's going to have plenty. We did also see that the mimics were in the arrow prize pack, so Zeke went from 15 to 30, and you have a refill it back here, so this really isn't that much of a point of contention. You see Flip in chat saying shields are for pickets, or if you're playing earlier or later Zelda titles, shields are for likes. I don't like that. So I guess we'll never know where the silver arrows were on the seed today. Got plenty of options, though. They could be Vanilla in Pyramid Fairy. They could very well be on Death Mountain in Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, there was a moment of hesitation where it looked like Smirk was actually going to go into Hookshot Cave instead of checking Turtle Rock first, but then decided to check Turtle Rock, so we may have been able to see Hookshot Cave, but unfortunately we didn't.
They could also be on Smith Chain, because picking up the Smith and the Purple Chest are both considered a Dark World location. These BMOs are definitely not being nice to smercjd. He got held in place by 3 shots on the spot. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Why did they decide that you could block, the eyes on the wall shots with the mirror shield, but you can't block BMO shots with them? Why was that a conscious decision?
Now, someone there in the dev team decided, no. Let's make the mirror shields just a little bit less OP. And Smirk having that half magic, he's got nothing to waste here. He's just going to go ahead and say, taste ether to the Stalfos in Gauntlet 2, same as Zeke did, but he's got a little bit more wiggle room to use his Fire Rod liberally in the next couple of rounds here. See a remark in chat. I have blocked BMO shots. It depends on the angle. I can't say I can agree that I've done that, although there's nothing quite like either despawning with Ancilla a BMO shot or just plain saying no with hook iframes or something. Oh, Smirk, please don't be on the mirror. Okay. Well, to be fair, the mirror shield is also very late in A Link to the Past and only has one particular instance of direct use, and that would be to block the eye lasers in Turtle Rock. So I think 10 minutes is a good. Maybe the devs don't like the mirror shield. I don't know what the devs like by how these games turn out.
Looks like Smirk is opting for lamp strats here in the first torch room. I think he would have had just enough for that first torch room, but it looks like he didn't want to pick up the big magic.
Ooh, just short of one fire rod shot for the end here, and he will pull out that lamp and show you the lamp does have an extended hitbox, so you can go ahead and light that last torch without having to be flush up against it like you would normally expect.
Oh, Moldorm being aggressive with Smirk and booping him straight off that platform.
Moldorm did that to everybody today at some point, either between here and Hera. We've seen at least 2 falls. Probably, I think we've seen 3.
And Smirk just about to have his geometry lesson for the day. Let's see how he does in this class.
That, I believe, was a triple. And that, as I said earlier, is a troll pattern. Yeah. 3-1-1-1. Not too bad. Not too shabby. So how do you like me now? Asks Gannon. We didn't talk about his little flavor text earlier. I think we like him buttered in this case. Cut up and buttered and slathered and spun to death.
That Buttersword making short work, giving Smirk the 1+1 Ganon, 6 hits each.
There are ways you can get a 1-1 with the Tempered Sword, although it is very, very slightly RNG dependent, depending on where Ganon decides to finish off on the bottom row and whether or not you get those first few spins or strikes in and a spin off the Trident.
$12 spins to win here for Smirk.
He can be a little bit more liberal with his magic because he still has those blues in pocket, half magic and fire rod. Even if something goes horrendously wrong, he's perfectly safe in this fight. And getting some nice triples in there as well. We saw some good triple setups from both runners today. That one was just on the frame where he hits the bottom row. That's beautiful. And that will do it for smercjd. He just has to cross this 1x3 bridge to finish off his run of this Jet Seed.
Let's get those GGs in chat for Smirk as well.
Yeah, Smirk clocking in a 1:32.36 on race time. But it is Zeke of Pet Zeppelin who will take this race, and we're going to be promptly joined by our two runners today, GG to smercjd and Zeke.
Thank you.
Thank you, and GG.
Yep, GG, Zeke. So the seed, right?
Smirk, what were you thinking when you first saw those mitts sitting up on Desert Ledge?
I was like, oh no, because that was my, like, okay, so at first I was like, I'm still worried about medallions. At that point, I didn't have any. So I was like, okay, I need the mitts to see what I need, right? I was just like searching frantically for mitts so that I could progress. And I saw them up there and I was like, okay, well, now I know where they are, but that doesn't really change much. Like, I still need to find the book now, right? So I'm like, okay, think back. What did I get behind what? And like, I was thinking like, okay, flippers, lock the mirror, and like something else. I think, I don't remember exactly, but so I was like, oh, it's probably not flippers then. Maybe it's a pendant dungeon. Then I felt really bad for not going into Eastern while I was there doing pod. And then I was like, okay, well, Swamp, that's very dense. Let's just go there. And that's also behind flippers and hammer and all these other things. So it's got to have something, right? So made the wrong calls with the pendants. So yeah, but that's kind of how I felt with the book, the Mint's book situation. It was definitely a jet that, like, if I had found that book earlier, Because okay, so the reason I didn't fake Flipper to Hobo first was because if you don't have the Moon Pearl, like you lose the Water Walk out of Waterfall Fairy, right? Something like that. Um, and so I don't know. I get confused a little bit on like if you have the Moon Pearl versus if you don't. And so I skip Hobo and go to Waterfall Fairy and Zora if I have the money for it. So that's what I did, and I was like, okay, well, I'll like put in Hobo when I go to Pod or something like that. But by the time I decided to go to Pod, I think I already had the flute. So I just was like, well, just go directly to Pod. And so then Hobo became kind of this off check, like orphan, basically. And so it was finally when I was thinking about going to Ice that I finally went back over there.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate place for the book to show up in a seed that very much hard requires the book.
Yeah.
Now, something both of you two did. Zeke, you did this much sooner than Smirk because he, as he stated, he did full clear swamp, so there was nothing there. You found Ether, key under the doormat, because of course it is. At any point, did you consider that you might need to dig around anywhere else with one medallion for go mode?
You saw me full clear Mire immediately following that. And I knew my next play after clearing Mire was absolutely go up mountain to find out what I needed. So
yeah, that's exactly my mentality too. I was like, okay, I need to check Mire just in case. I don't know what the medallion is for TR, so let's look at Mire. I still decided to skip cutscene, so that could have really burned too. At that point, I was pretty sure I was behind, so I was like, well, if it's in Mire cutscene, like it's already over anyway. So, so I went up to TR and to check it. So I was like, okay, let's check it first before even doing Hookshot Cave. But you saw I checked the Super Bunny on the way up, and then saw that it was Ether, and I was like, oh wait, I don't need to check Hookshot Cave. This is medallion. That's it. So. But yeah, I think the play definitely is to go see what you need. So I don't want people to think that I went to TR assuming it's Ether. I definitely wanted to see what it was.
I've been burned one too many times by assuming I'm in go mode and then finding out
Right.
I need, say, the Bombos medallion.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, any thoughts on the seed overall? Obviously, we saw a jet. It literally just threw everything in your lap and said, "Go have fun."
I thought it was a really fun seed. I'm really happy to have raced against Zeke today. It was something I was both nervous and excited for. And I wish that I had found the book to the myths combo faster, because I think like if you take out my full clear of swamp in Eastern, I think the time would have been much closer. Like I probably still would have lost, but it would have been a lot closer, and I think that would have been more exciting for viewers and for you guys. And but besides that, I thought it was really fun. I'm really proud. And then another note I want to make sure is thank you so much for stepping up to comms. Thanks, Arteril for restreaming, Akuhish for tracking, and to you both, Zerubian and Zenarkane for calming. It's really wonderful to have people do that.
Yeah, very, very good seed to play. Felt pretty good to hit the jet, I will admit. I'm usually on the side of I didn't find the jet.
One thing we noticed going through the early parts of the seed, kind of sketchy in the health department. 5 hearts for your Skullwoods dive, Zeke. Is there any point where you might have thought, I'm going to do this later because this is really scary now?
No, because I knew I was going to win.
Well, dang. That's the voice of confidence, folks.
Moth isn't that hard. Especially when the game decides to throw you a tempered and give you a blue potion for backup.
For me, I decided to go to pod first, specifically for that reason. Like, I was like, wow, I think I'm at like 4 or 5 hearts in Greenbelt, I think maybe at the time. And I could go to either Skullwoods, Beachtown area, or I could go to pod. And I was like, let's go to pod first. I tend to have a little bit better time with that. And also pod is pretty dense, so hopefully I'll find, the mids there. And so when I went to pod, I got all the way to helmet and I almost died. Fortunately, that blue potion saved me there. But I'm glad I did it first, because then once I made it over to Skullwoods and Beachtown, I was in a little bit better. I think I had 7 hearts at that point. I can't remember if I think I might have still been on Greenmail, but 7 hearts just feels a little safer than 4 or 5 or whatever I was at before. So yeah, for me, it definitely affected my routing choices.
Alrighty. Zen, do we have any last thoughts for our runners here?
I don't have anything. GG's to you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Zen. And like Smirk said, big thanks to everyone who helped put on this restream. Akuhesh for tracking, and Zaru and Zen for jumping in commentary booth, and Artero for handling the restream.
Yeah, big shout outs to everyone involved in putting any of these races on for the Open League on these league channels, and for the Invitational League over at Speed Gaming. So yeah, make sure you give follows out to these 2 runners once again. Smirk, Zeke, plenty to look forward to as the league unfolds here. Got 4 more weeks of action. Got another pair of these casual boots that we might see these 2 teams kind of meet up against. Who you 2 got going on for you the rest of the week?
I believe we are putting TJ Jal up for his league debut this week, since Jetto and I decided to take over weeks 1 and 2 by ourselves.
And for us, we have Zethno jumping in for Cas Boots. Our other teammate, so last summer, big shout outs to her, but she is not a fan of boots, so she is taking off on Cas Boots week and Inamizer Boots week. So not because of Inamizer, but because of boots.
Well, all right. We'll look forward to that second matchup between these 2 teams as the league unfolds week 3 here. Still a lot of games to keep an eye out for in both the Open and Invitational Leagues. But coming up next on this channel at 6:40, you will see Clown Routing 101 with Arcturus Chusky facing off against yet another bonk, fielding Aquiline. That will be here on the ALTTPR League. And later tonight, Rando Babies with Mr. Aaron Snurd will face off against JK Law with Radical Sniper. That's going to be on League 2. That one is a match between 2 undefeated teams in the Open League. So absolutely lots to be excited about as Casual Boots starts to roll on fast here for everybody. And I'm going to put it over to Zen to have us say goodbye for now.
Goodbye for now.